Check.
Unique New York. Hello, hello. Check, check, check.
Blah, blah, blah. All right.
Are we recording already?
Yeah, we are.
Awesome. Good
Yeah.
stuff.
Okie dokie. We are back. Another episode of the Eh-Soteric Archives. Just crushing 2026 so far. We've got a very, very Canadian episode today. Which is nice. We've been talking to a bunch of Yanks lately, so
Yeah, we definitely a Canadian episode. I don't know of too many things that are more Canadian than maple syrup.
No, not at all. The maple leaf, the maple tree, the syrup that comes out of those beautiful, beautiful trees, and the people that seem to want to control
Yeah.
how much comes out and where it goes.
And how much money they make off it.
Yeah. So this kind of started, we started diving down the rabbit hole of the Great Canadian Maple Syrup Heist, which is the largest heist in Canadian history of any kind, right?
It is, yeah. $18.7 million of maple syrup was stolen. And I think for today's numbers, that's adjusted for inflation is around 26 million.
Yeah.
Larger than any bank heist in Canadian history.
Yeah, it's wild. And it was siphoned over the course of like a year, I think 10 months. I think they figured out that it was actually siphoned over that. So it wasn't just like one big, yeah,
it wasn't in one shot. It was over, I think, from August 2011 to like July 2012. Is when it took place. They did it. It's funny, when I read the story, they did it the same way I used to take my dad's booze.
Oh, really?
As a kid, they would siphon out.
Yeah.
So they said, we'll get into it in a sec, but they siphoned it out and replaced it with water. So if someone came to do a check, you know what I mean?
They switcheroo.
Yeah. And then they got caught the same way that I got caught as a kid, which was they just stopped putting it back.
Huh.
Yeah.
Huh.
Anyway.
They didn't get grounded though.
No, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you might be asking, why maple syrup? Why would you go through the trouble of stealing a bunch of barrels of maple syrup? Because we should specify this is 9,500, just over 9,500 barrels, 45-gallon barrels of maple syrup.
And their value is they're worth a lot more than oil.
Yeah.
That's a lot more than like some barrels of oil. And if someone lost 9,000 barrels of oil, they'd probably be upset. But
yeah. And the reason it wasn't necessarily caught right away was because it was being done over this period of time, right? So it was like, I mean, we'll get into the details of the actual heist and how it was kind of portrayed in the media and whatnot, because I have my questions. And I think that's the thing about this topic today is like, we started expecting to basically be kind of more like a true crime episode, I think, right? Where we're going to break down the heist and who's potentially involved and whether it was spun in a way that made sense, kind of thing. But then when you start to get into it, you learn more and more about the way the maple industry or the maple syrup industry actually works and how it's effectively a cartel running it.
Yeah.
And then from that, there's the facts, there's the conspiratorial angle, and then there's a bunch of weird occult stuff that we dug up about it as well. So
and looking at maple syrup, from a different point of view, not a money point of view.
Yeah.
Which is how I think it started.
Yeah. So do you want to? We can, I guess, start by maybe breaking down the maple syrup industry as a whole and like kind of how it functions in Canada, because it's a little different than other agricultural industries, right? Like.
It's much different, and it's similar to some, but it's definitely stands alone in the way that they it's called the FPAC.
Yeah, it was the PPAQ at first, and then it changed to the FPAQ, which F is Federation, so it's
in 1966 is when it was founded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, interesting number.
Mm-hmm.
Keep listening to those numbers throughout the show.
Yeah.
And so the whole point of it is this federation of maple, whatever it is they control the price, and they do it through numerous ways, but they say it's to protect the farmer. So essentially, the way it works is any maple syrup produced in Quebec has to go through this federation, and they keep 25% of what you produce, and that goes into a strategic reserve, similar to the OPEC strategic reserve for oil. And then that way, if there's a down year, they can offset it, and prices. The idea is prices won't skyrocket, and the farmers will still get their money.
Yeah, and I think the idea was also to create more of a regulated price, a stable price, so it's not jumping around year after year. So the market value of it actually stays the same. And it was actually like, so we'll get into why. Obviously, we know unions have their downside and whatnot, right? And centralized control is never usually a good thing, but on paper, it actually did have the desired effect. The prices of maple syrup went up and stayed up.
Yes.
Over like a 20-year period kind of thing is when they kind of hit their all-time highs and then sort of stabilize. And as you mentioned, right, like that $18.7 million that was stolen would be worth close to 30 now.
Yeah.
So the price continues to go up under this control grid. So this encompasses 8,000 producers. Like, I think it's important to kind of like establish the size of this industry, because it's hundreds of thousands like of hectares of land that's like involved in this. That's privately owned land, that's crown land as well. And I want to mention this because it plays into a point I want to make later, but the so currently 80% of production takes place on privately held land, and then 20% is on crown land. But of the crown land that has tappable maple trees, only 30% of it is currently being utilized. So that means there's like, reserves of these maple farms basically sitting there that are it's protected land. These trees are untapped and tappable.
Because then the way they do it nowadays is not the way it was done from the beginning. It's they go hard at those trees.
Yeah, I mean, no, they applied industrialization to it very, very much.
So they have this separate kind of, almost, I guess, like logging would have, you know what I mean? A field, not a field, but an area next to where they're cutting down trees ready to go at next. Is that kind of the idea? Or do they?
Well, my theory is sort of just that it's being held, like obviously the more land that's held privately means that the power shifts more into the producer's hands. So with what we'll get into, with the heist and with other things that are happening in that industry, my thought is that the push is to basically decrease the amount of privately held land and then just switch the industry over to the crown land.
To just on crown land.
Because one of the things under this FPAC organization is like, it stabilized the price, but it also creates a bunch of hurdles for these producers to jump over. And it also, there's steep fines in place if you were to go against their regulations.
Yeah, it's like everything else in Canada, though, right? Like once it starts becoming regulated, they fine you so much for even thinking of flouting any of their recommendations or the way they want to do things that it's staggering, actually.
In 2008, they were trying to find, I forget how many there were, but there was a bunch of basically maple producers that decided to kind of stand up and be like, no, your regulations don't make sense. We want to sell to our contracts that we've been selling into for years, blah, blah, blah. And they were fined upwards of like $500,000 each, which is like, to a family farm, that's
a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a critical hit. That's,
Yeah.
So,
and that's interesting because 2008, like as we kind of get into the story, is not the beginning of this heist, but there was really poor weather in 2008. I think there was a couple ice storms and things like that.
Yeah.
And it affected everything. It almost completely depleted the reserve. And then 3 years later in 2011, they had a bumper crop, which is kind of the lead into the story. And because they had that bumper crop, they had so much maple syrup, they didn't know where to store it.
Yeah.
So they started renting, instead of storing it in the one place they normally did, they started renting warehouses around Quebec. to store this extra maple syrup, and that's kind of where the story, the heist, begins.
Yeah, yeah. This was the heist took place, at one warehouse, but there were several that were being set up, and apparently they were only renting these warehouses because they wanted to build permanent facilities
Yeah.
to house it, and they weren't getting approval for federal funding or federal subsidies to do it.
Huh.
Right? They don't want to dip into their own.
Yeah, in their own pocket. It would just go on a consumer anyway. I wanted to add that when we were talking about how it controls prices.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, like everything else in Canada, it just means we, the consumer, end up paying more for it.
Yeah.
It's the same with milk.
Yeah.
Right? We'll later on get into the comparisons between the dairy cartel and the maple cartel, but
Yeah.
we pay, I think it's 200 or 300% more for milk than everywhere else in the world because it's controlled by our government.
Yeah. And we should add too that like the producers are getting boned in this because like so in order to take part in FPAC, you have to contribute 25% of your annual yield to the strategic reserve.
Yeah.
But they don't pay you for that up front. That's when it gets pulled.
Yeah.
So it could be, like you said, like 2008, it was till 2011. So people have been effectively paying into that prior to that as well. So it could have been, 5-10 years before they saw any money from that.
And if you're a smaller like a smaller producer of maple syrup, that's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
You're not, right? We were talking like if you're a large producer, you can offset it, know you'll get it in 5 years and that's fine. But if you're a small producer, that's really going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the guys involved, especially the main guy involved in this heist, he was one of those smaller producers.
Yeah, yeah. The tone of the heist kind of feels very much like a fuck you to it was a middle finger to FPAC and the Maple Cartel that was running everything.
Yeah, well, we'll get into what they did now, but I kind of was cheering for them a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, because again, like it's not like they were just like stealing it and enriching themselves. They were still selling it into the black market. They were selling it to legal producers as well, because that's actually how they ended up being caught. We'll get into that, but it's not like, it's basically just like instead of FPAC skimming 25% off the top, like fuck it, we're gonna skim it off the top and then we'll make it back. And it was all just going back into their family farms and stuff like that. So it's not like
it's crazy. And it's crazy to think now, like the drugs that are legal in this country, but how regulated maple syrup is.
Yeah.
And milk. And anyway,
it's because of its value, right? It's because it's there's a lot. I mean, there's only X amount of months that you can actually harvest maple syrup. It's like a 4 to 6 week. It's not even months. Yeah, it's like a 4 to 6 week period that you can. So there is like you can easily see the value there and why it's rare and why it's to get the pure stuff. And we'll again, there's so much to dive into with this. My brain is just kind of like ping ponging right now. But
I also think they realized when they put this federation together, like maple syrup it's not made all over the world.
No,
because of the way that the unique winter environment, we'll say, of Ontario and Quebec and the Maritimes and I guess Northeast US, which is where it's made for the most part. Yeah, that's not everywhere. So I think that's the other reason. They saw this opportunity to kind of corner the market. And if they've since then have been dictating the price, like all maple syrup in the world, for the most part, I think it's 90% comes from Canada.
Comes from Canada,
yeah. And 90% of that's from Quebec.
I think at its peak it was 90%. It's a little less now with U.S. markets increasing their market share. But yeah, a lot of people think even the maple tree is like synonymous with Canada. It's on our flag. But there's maple trees everywhere. I was trying to figure out like, is there a specific type of maple tree that we harvest from? And there is, but
the sugar maple.
And there is other species that grow. Like Japan has a small maple syrup market. China has the most amount of maple trees by count and species.
I bet you there'd be places in China that would have
you would think, but maybe the terrain.
Yeah,
they're a lot more mountainous, right? So it could just be hard to harvest them. And we just have like Quebec it's just farmland, a lot of it, right? So you can plant hundreds and hundreds of maple trees and just let them go. So it kind of like it's its own industry. I didn't realize the actual value of, I think before we get into the heist, just to put the industry itself into perspective, I just want to like break down the actual market value of the maple syrup industry. So it's like $2 billion globally, and it's just its market value. So like revenue kind of thing. If you actually take into account all the land and facilities and stuff incorporated in that, it's like $5 to $6 billion.
That's
between real estate and whatever that's a significant amount of money, towards Canada's GDP, and especially concentrated to one province. So
that's and it's worth, was it oil is like $30 or 30 cents a liter, something like that, like in its crude form. And sorry, I just have it here.
Yeah, maple syrup's worth much, much more.
Sorry, 37 cents per liter, the price of crude oil, and it's, you know what I mean, at its spot price or whatever. And yeah, maple syrup is $15 per liter.
It was wild.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's the process too, right? You have to, it's 40, was it 40 to 1? Like you have to take out 40 liters of sap.
Yeah.
Sap water to get 1 liter of finished product.
Yeah. The sap harvested is like 98, like you said, 98% water. So, boiling that down just to get 2% sap out of it is pretty wild.
All right. So the heist.
Yeah.
So they've secured these warehouses to store this extra syrup.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go unnoticed by some people in the industry, and it doesn't go unnoticed that they put no security anywhere.
Yeah. So this is like, again, this is 2011. And 2010, I think, is when they actually put it in the warehouse, and then a plan was formulated and whatever. But I even, so there's no cameras, there's no security system that we know of. There's like a security guard that apparently monitors once or twice a week, something like that. But it's very much just like a sleepy town, riverside town, that with a big ass warehouse that they just decided to stick these barrels in.
And this warehouse in particular, one of the people involved was known. He lived in the town, and his wife, I think there's a bit of dispute as to who owned it, but it's either him or his wife owned the actual warehouse.
Yeah, well, I read that his wife worked for the firm that like rented it out.
It's hard to actually get true facts about it.
Yeah.
I've read the same thing.
But obviously the intel came from this woman that, hey, the FPAC has signed a lease on this warehouse and is going to be transporting 9,500 barrels or whatever, it was far more than that, because they didn't steal all the barrels. It was like tens and tens of thousands of barrels. So this plan was formulated to, over time, take barrels to a separate location. Now, this is another part that's kind of sketchy in the story, is that there's accounts that say that it was like a large facility, like you said, where they were just moving it to another part of the facility and siphoning. And then I also read that it was like a separate building altogether.
I've seen both too. I imagine they had different ways to get it in different places, but they did the same thing, which is, for a while they just took out the maple syrup and replaced it with water.
Yeah.
Like it's quite ingenious.
Yeah. And this is how they were caught, basically, is there's an inspector, an FPAC inspector, that goes around to these reserve warehouses and does inventory. And he was climbing up a stack of them, apparently, to read one of the tags. And one of them tipped over and sloshed. And obviously maple syrup, the consistency of it, it's not going to slosh around. So he's like, well, that's odd.
And an empty barrel, or partially empty barrel.
Yeah. So then, that leads into an investigation, which reveals that they've been getting jacked for quite a while.
And they figured out who did it pretty quickly, eh?
Yeah, that again, like that part, the media seemed to have their story like wrapped up real quick. It was a very open and shut investigation.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was.
And they explained it away because, like I said, there was some that was sold into the black market, but a lot of it was actually just sold into the regular market, maple syrup market, so they were able to trace it.
Probably got sold back to Costco in those plastic,
right?
The ones you buy. Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't like, it was basically just they didn't recover all of the syrup. They recovered some of it from the black market. It's so spotty, the details on that kind of stuff, but it's very much played up in the media as like it's like a Scooby-Doo adventure.
Yeah,
you know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah,
they pull the mask off and it was him all along.
Yeah. So yeah, I've heard the heist remained undetected till July 2012, when during a routine annual inventory at the St. Louis de Blanford warehouse, Inspector Michel Gavreau, exactly what you said, found it. So they figure it out in July 2012, and then December 2012, they've charged people. Like,
that's quick.
That's faster than most murders.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and again, we're talking RCMP investigating here.
Well, this is and the Sûreté de Quebec. Yeah. So there's multiple jurisdictions.
Yeah.
So and they get along very well, I'm sure, and share information. Like, it's just crazy how some things can be investigated so fast.
Yeah.
And guarantee you we got the person.
Yeah. And it was just, it seemed very coordinated, and some of the testimony was really interesting too. So when this guy, Richard Valliere, I'm not French, so I don't.
He was the main guy charged. Correct?
Yeah, he was dubbed the ringleader of it all, kind of thing. So he was originally charged with, I think it was like 8 years in prison and like $9 million fine.
Yeah,
which is wild, right? For again, this isn't a guy that's like he didn't really have like a criminal past or anything. He was sort of just like a normal guy.
No, but it did. So he was fined in 2007, just over $1.5 million for black market sales, and it led to the seizure of his home and kind of fueled the personal grudge. But he's, you know what I mean. So that's kind of where he was coming from into this. But he wasn't the guy who started the whole thing, right? There was another fella who owned the warehouse or was part of the warehouse that we were talking about earlier.
That's that Avec
Caron?
Yeah, something like that.
So he's the one who approached Richard Vallier's dad first, because he was a driver.
Yeah.
Who then approached Richard. And this Richard Valliere guy is the one who gets the 9 years and the $9 million fine.
Yeah.
Which he's supposed to pay off somehow while he's in prison.
His dad was also charged and thrown in prison.
Yeah. Avec Caron. That's his name. Yeah.
But during the testimony though, so Richard Valliere, it says this is a National Post article. So whatever, take it with a grain of salt. But Richard Valliere got rich off the trade in stolen maple syrup, earning close to $1 million in the space of a year and treating himself to 3 vacations in the tropics. So gotta lay low for a little while, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
But he told the jury Wednesday he was forced to take part at gunpoint, and he continued out of fear for the lives of his girlfriend and young daughter, testifying in his own defense. The experienced syrup broker, which is a funny job, said he wanted out of the operation as soon as he realized the product being delivered to him was stolen from the Federation of Quebec Maple Syrup Producers. That's FPAC.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is like, and I had my theories about this before I read this, that there was some sort of like mafia involvement or something, because it just kind of had that, anytime you see heist,
especially in Quebec.
Well, Montreal specifically, right?
It's, you know what I mean? It's black market. You hear black market, you hear whatever. Yeah.
Montreal has a pretty there's crime families there that are pretty well known. The Catronis, the Rizzutos. So and it was the Catronis specifically are heavily involved in food exports. So there's nothing officially tying them to this heist at all. I'm just kind of speculating that, if there was mafia involvement, it was probably
if you're moving black market things over the border and trying to get things around in food delivery vehicles to, who else are you gonna? They would at least have to know about it.
Yeah, if Richard is telling the truth about being held at gunpoint, that's,
It fits with that.
it fits with that for sure.
It doesn't fit with the other fella. Like the other guy we were talking about, that he's never been charged with anything else before this. He got charged with insurance fraud along with this and was fined concurrently. But yeah, he has no violent past.
See, it's interesting. He was charged with insurance fraud because maybe he had, I don't know. You always speculate. Maybe this guy had debts he couldn't pay off and he's looking for a way out.
Yeah.
And his wife just happened to mention this warehouse and he's like, I know this sketchy Richard guy.
Yeah. Because it's hard to find out if they knew each other before, right?
Yeah.
I would think that the industry is large. You said there's 8,000 producers, right? But probably still small enough that a lot of them would know each other.
You would think, yeah.
So he would probably know who to go to. To me, it seems sometimes almost like they wanted to get this guy, the original Richard. Like
he feels like a bit of a patsy sometimes. Yeah.
Because he was a rebel, and a lot of the smaller producers, like the real small producers like him, didn't like the reserve, didn't like the way it was done, started speaking up about it.
And like you said, while he was in prison, he was expected to pay back this $9 million. He appealed, and then it got reduced to $1 million, and then it was 2022 that the court appealed again and bumped it back up to the original amount.
Yeah, using the Hell's Angels proceeds from a conspiracy.
Yeah, something like
law.
that.
Yeah.
But it's just odd that they would, it was out of the media. It was done. It was over with. And for them it made me think that maybe Richard was about to speak. Or he was about to say something, spill the beans on something. And so they're like, nah, we told you.
That
shut.
And we do know they like making an example of everyone in this country when you speak out, right?
That's kind of the playbook here.
Yeah. And the louder you are, the more they will make sure you get everything that's coming to you.
Yeah.
Unless we're not going to get into the bail and all that stuff, right? That's not what the show's about, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Especially with something like this, with raw milk farmers, with people from the Freedom Convoy,
it seems really, it's a pattern for
if you have an ostrich farm, do you know what I mean? All those things, you can't defy what we say. And if you defy us, we will, it's very, very Chinesey to me.
It's super Chinese.
Can we say that? Yeah, I guess we can. I just said it. So anyway, I remember learning about Chinese communism as a child and not understanding how could they not know that they were in that, involved in that, you know what I mean?
Totally.
And that's what it is here.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think it's just a basic kind of communist approach to maintaining power, maintaining control over something, right?
So, communist in both ways too, right? Like the bureaucratic approach to it, the controlling the market, that part, and shutting down any dissent immediately.
Which again, if there was mafia involvement, the mafias would have a bone to pick with an organization like FPAC, because mafias exist in a capitalist sort of environment, right? They can't thrive in anything really other than capitalism, because otherwise you're just the corruption is concentrated within the actual government itself. So, I don't doubt that there is a black market maple syrup line that goes out, and someone's controlling that, and it's not someone at a 9 to 5. It's it's someone who is a career criminal that's running that.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think they've tried to just make it seem like it's all this one guy.
Yeah.
And now that they've got him in jail, it's solved the whole problem. And
and it would be a good cover for a few different strategic approaches with it, because if it was, say, FPAC, like you said, they had a down year, now they have this reserve that they have too much. And I don't know, maybe it was costing them too much to store it. Maybe it's costing them too much. The market price is going to fluctuate because there's just too much in reserve, and everyone knows this reserve exists. So, they would have had insurance on these warehouses as well. So it's that's a pretty common insurance fraud kind of approach, where it's, and again, like, it's not like the producers would be paid out in the insurance claim. It would be FPAC that gets the money.
And in 2006, they had a smaller, like, theft, and
Yeah.
they were paid out 1.5 million by the insurance company, right? So exactly what you're saying. Maybe they learned how can we make this a bit more,
Yeah.
and then we can all make money because now the price of maple syrup is higher, right?
Exactly.
And as we were talking earlier, and it's bringing up now, like in 2024, we were reading I read an article from 2024 talking about when Trump was originally talking about the tariffs. Farmers were saying that this FPAC was dumping maple syrup to artificially raise the price.
The same way the dairy industry was doing that
Yeah.
a couple years ago too, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, there's that angle. The other angle is obviously like we said, Canada and Quebec specifically, like, is responsible for like 80 to 90% of the maple syrup export. But this environment that they're grown in also exists in Northeast US.
Mm-hmm.
So like Vermont and Maine have their own maple syrup industries, and we're basically trying to, I know that because it is still privatized there, they don't have like an FPAC type thing there. It's private industry.
Yeah.
That more, American approach to it. So
More kind of a truer capitalistic
yeah.
approach. Yeah.
So they had actually, right around that time, the US market had gained about 10% market share. Which the amount of barrels taken from the strategic reserve, I think you put that together, was
Exactly 10%.
yeah.
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 That's how much they said he stole. So the amount you're saying, the amount that he stole is how much the US market. So it essentially just went to the US.
Effectively.
Yeah.
Either that, or it was just like a coordinated hit to deplete the reserve, and then they can fill the market that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And coincidentally enough, it remained that way until about 2023, when FPAC raised the annual quota by 12% to try and recapture that market share.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of coincidences, a lot of and we haven't even gotten into the weird stuff yet. This is all just like facts and what happened with the heist.
And to open people's eyes, I think, to just how regulated things are in Canada. And it's not always the best way. It's not my choice of government, for sure.
Well, it's the whole thing, right? Like they sell it as security. It's sold as like, now you don't need to worry. Now you don't need to compete with your neighbors. Now it's all regulated, whatever, right? And yes, it steadied the price, and it did boost the industry to all-time highs. But now what happens is you have these older producers that aren't able to keep up with the regulatory stuff. They don't have the money to reinvest into, because it can be as simple as like, oh, you need to upgrade your filtration system to this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, sometimes those things are like 20, 30, $50,000. And these old farms, like, they're aging out.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have the ability to kind of keep up with that. So that was my point with the crown land, is I think, it's a way to sort of like slowly squeeze out the old legacy producers and replace it with the regulatory system.
And just people who are compliant with that. And they'll probably lease out the farms and to big people with big pockets, deep pockets, who can absorb hits if it's a bad year, and then they get everything they want.
Yeah.
And they'll say, look, it works great. That's exactly what they did with dairy farms, right?
100%.
Like, all farms in Canada have been taken over for the most part by huge companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty sad. And once again, who pays for it? We do.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Right.
So there's monopoly. They can control the price, and it's not the market that decides the price. It's them, and they keep it.
So aside from it being kind of like a Scooby-Doo thing, like we said, there's a bunch of details about the heist that don't really make a lot of sense to me. The main one, honestly, being just the amount of barrels that were moved, and the amount of trips that would have had to, because like I know we mentioned that there's no security and whatever, which again is like, how convenient. It's 2011. It's not 1991. Like, there's cameras and
it's
it's So to me, that was odd. And then, so I did some math to move these 9,500 barrels. It said that they did roughly 100 to 150 transports, individual transports with tractor trailer. So again, like that's just moving these barrels alone. It's not a quiet endeavor. It's not a like quick endeavor. That's multiple people.
Yeah.
That's forklifts. That's
lots of noise.
Lots of noise. And so they were going to another location. So that 100 to 150 transports means 2 hits to that warehouse per transport because they were bringing the barrels full of water back.
So they'd have to bring it there, unload it, fill them back up, bring them back.
So that's, 200 to 300 stops at that warehouse that apparently went unnoticed. Yeah, it just doesn't add up to me.
Yeah, me neither. I still think, I think that it was I think someone in the mob ratted them out because they knew what was going on and they're like, oh, hey, that maple syrup heist.
Yeah.
You want to solve it? Because it's a big, you know what I mean? It's, well, you talk about the Nazi magic part of it, but really, right? It's something to give the people.
Yeah. It's like a victimless crime too. Like no one got hurt. It's not like someone like there was a shootout at the end, no one got hurt. It's just money. And because it's very Canadian and it's got that kind of like cartoony vibe to it, it really caught on in the media. And I don't think so. I have a theory about this too, because I don't think it was meant to.
Oh, okay. I actually don't think it was meant to. You think it? Interesting.
Yeah, like I think the media, like sort of. I think that it likely would have been covered up a lot more had the media not caught on to the story. And the reason I think that is because of the timing of when this all went down. So around that time, like 2012, that was all leading up to the Harper government's omnibus bills. So Bill C-38 being the big one, which gutted environmental protections, rewrote fisheries acts, weakened the Environmental Assessment Act, strict regulations on energy projects. It was basically like, and it was heavily protested.
Yeah,
at the time, like it was
the whole Stop Harper leading up to that election, right? When on all the stop signs. Yeah, I remember that.
So and so my theory kind of is that like the news sort of took it over, and this is also during the time, coincidentally, when CBC had their major cuts.
Huh.
So that led to them being bailed out and basically becoming a full government arm. And then on the other side of it, corporate ownership took over all the like print side of things, right?
Yeah.
So my theory is it was kind of just one of those first like crazed media stories to like evoke emotion. Like it was like it's a nice, easy story. It's still intriguing enough. It's a high enough dollar value that like $18.7 million catches your attention.
100%.
Yeah. And yeah, just when it was released, really overshadowed Bill C-38. It overshadowed the CBC cuts. It overshadowed all of that stuff and became this like thing that the country could kind of rally around and this big distraction.
Yeah.
Luckily in Canada, we don't need mass shootings to be distracted.
We just need a mass theft of maple syrup.
Yeah, that's it. So fair enough.
They took my maple syrup, eh?
Yeah. But yeah, it made me think of when we were talking to Nick, and he was discussing Nazi magic and how it's like how they use media and like sights and sounds to make you believe that something's going on. It's just, anytime I see something that is very like marketable and just kind of like falls into place so quickly, like their narrative fell into place. The maple syrup, most of it was recovered. It's not like it's like this cold case,
Yeah. They got almost all of it back.
Almost
right?
all of it.
Yeah.
Which again, it's like, then why are you fining this guy $9 million? Like you got it back. It's still circulating in the market.
That's do you know that there's a show about this on Amazon? Sticky Fingers?
Kind
of weird.
I was, it's probably a Canadian production, I would assume. So it's probably not very good, but but I would be interested in watching it.
Yeah. I don't know, for me, like I didn't know anything about any of this until we did this. I knew about the theft, right? I remember hearing about it, but I didn't know about the F-Pack or any of that until we started looking into this.
Yeah.
And that to me is the story here. And like, there's been like in 2016, Vanity Fair did an article calling them the mafia or a mafia. In 2017, Vice did an article like insinuating they were a cartel.
Yeah.
Because that is how they operate.
100% it's how they operate.
Yeah.
One other interesting thing about just like, geopolitical stuff and whatever that was going on at the time. So this was also when CETA was going on, and that's the Canadian EU free trade agreement was being renegotiated behind closed doors, and it was all based around obviously like agriculture, and exports and tariffs and things like that. And yeah, with maple syrup being Quebec's like largest industry, of course, it was probably included in the talks. There was, and again, heavily protest bill. It was considered constitutional bypass. Like it was like
like everything here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on at the time that would have been very opportune to create a giant distraction, and obviously it didn't work for the Harper government really, because that was kind of their downfall, was Bill C-38. The Conservatives really took a hit there, and obviously haven't not that the central casting hasn't written them back into the script just yet. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that kind of like, I mean, that sort of breaks down what I have for the heist. I kind of have, I have my theories behind it being sort of mob related, just your run of the mill insurance fraud. Could have been the U.S. market trying to just create a hit, and then. But yeah, my whole thing with the media is that I think it would have likely been a lot more underground, but the media took it as a good way to create a distraction at the time.
And then even when the media took it, though, they wrote about like the stuff that you would see in that show, Sticky Fingers. They didn't actually. It's really hard to find actual details. Do you know what I mean? Like even in the media about what actually happened, who coordinated what and how. There's lots of rumors that aren't substantiated that they still kind of write about.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I tried to find the address of the warehouse and I couldn't.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, because I just found something here. You mentioned before about the Richard Vallier guy, and he testified that he was held at gunpoint, right? That Caron fellow testified that an FPAC employee was involved. That employee was investigated but not charged. And he also alleged that Montreal Mafia members supplied equipment and drivers in the spring of 2012.
There you go.
But then the judge dismissed it for lack of evidence, realized it wasn't an organized crime-led operation, and that was that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, again, like, so, like, clearly just dismissed. Nope. We have, like, several testimonies now.
And they ruled it wasn't an organized crime-led operation for his trial, but then the other guy, they used the proceeds of a conspiracy, which is organized crime, essentially, right? That's why to make him pay back the money. They kind of use both sides.
So it makes me wonder too, like how, like, you get into the whole Patsy thing and how, the CIA grooms people into, and ending up being their shooter, or being their whatever, It makes me wonder if these guys were targeted a little bit, to be the fall guys for this. It really is reading that way.
Yeah.
The more I look into it, and again, this is all just speculation. I don't want to, I'm not looking to die because of like cracking the maple syrup heist. But
a fall guy for their. So do you think they're like, for example, like in these warehouses, there actually is maple syrup, not like the warehouses of gold. Where they're like you know what I mean? There is
it's not
no
Fort Knox.
Yeah. So do you think it's something like that, where they used them as a patsy, possibly to hide the fact that they got rid of this? They themselves got rid of it, or do you think they just let them?
Well, I think it was sort of just this, like, probably sold to them as an inside job, to where it's like, you're not gonna get caught, right? We're gonna get away with this. There's insurance on the shit. It's in a warehouse. There's no security cameras. Don't worry about it. We've taken care of that. Because again, the value of it, I wouldn't even, like, you don't leave your bike unlocked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not anymore. That's for sure.
No, you just, would you ever store something of that value in a place that has zero protection?
Yeah, no.
like it's idiotic for anyone to even consider that to be like like, oh yeah, no, someone signed off on that.
Not even a ring cam.
Yeah, and no one was fired over this, by the way, either.
No,
it's like no one who planned out like where they were going to store nothing.
See, I think they let it. I think it happened. They figured out it happened, and then I think like they used it to get rid of some other things that they may have done. Do you know what I mean? Like they used this as an opportunity. Maybe they had been watering stuff down or dumping stuff, and they use this as an example to blame it all on him.
Yeah,
and make an example.
Yeah, exactly, man. I think that's really what happened. And if there was, so this is we're gonna spin this into the occult kind of side of it, because there is some weird syncs that I found with all of this stuff as well. And we can talk about like, you know, the meaning of like the significance of maple syrup and its properties and whatever as well. But this, so if it was mob related, it's not a secret that there's a lot of Freemasons that are involved in the mob. There's a ton of lodges in New York and Montreal and stuff that are tied to mafia involvement. And we all know that Freemasons like to leave their calling cards and whatever, right? So I the first thing now, and it's really cool because I'm starting to see these patterns and things, but I was, the first thing that came to mind is, well, let's look into the names of these people and what they mean. So, you know, like, so Richard, so first of all, the warehouse was in St. Louis de Blanford. It's a small town northeast of Montreal, located on the Bécancour River. So it's like a valley town, right? Richard means strong leader, powerful leader. So it's just funny that like the ringleader of this, that's his name, means leader.
Yeah.
And then Valier means small valley. It was a name that was given to people who live in or near a valley. So it's like
his name was made for it, right?
Yeah, leader. He's basically leader from the valley is what his name means. And then the guy that the investigator, his name effectively means like good one or like hero. So he's like the hero of the story that, you know what I mean?
That's so crazy.
Super strange. Super strange.
There's so many number things, for this. You have I have one too. I know you have a lot more.
Yeah, no, go tell me yours.
Oh, just so like when the FPAC decides what is good maple syrup, there's a number, it's called a Brix number, which denotes the amount of sugar content. I think it's weight by sugar per pound or something like that, but it's called the Brix system. 66 Brix, like on the Brix scale, is what it has to be for it to be good maple syrup. If it's 66.9, it's good. If it's 67, no good, no bueno. 65.9, no bueno. Has to be exactly 66.
So I have something that plays into that as well. Yeah. There's the 86 rule, which is a mathematic equation that determines how much maple syrup you'll get from 1 gallon.
That's how they that's how they do the math to determine what they'll get, their yield.
Yeah, and they titled it the 86 rule. So I looked up, I've been using that gematria calculator just for funsies, and 86 in gematria is black magic, which is kind of strange. And that kind of, you know, sort of plays into a bit of the alchemy angle that we'll talk about in a little bit.
And because it is alchemical, right? Which we will get into.
Yeah.
But the way that it's done now could be like, it's not the way it was supposed to be done, right? And the way that it's done now, this modern way of doing it is a form of black magic.
100%. Yeah.
Crazy.
Other close, this one's pretty loose, but I looked up the Great Maple Syrup Heist in gematria, and it matched to July 19th, which it was discovered on July 30th. So
pretty close.
It's loose, but it's close.
Those numbers are always there for everything. It's so weird.
Yeah. Oh, this was it. So the guy that found the missing barrels, Michel Gavreau in gematria, light worker or the good guy.
And he is the good guy.
And he's the good guy, right?
I guess, depending.
Richard Valier, witches or new moon, or get this, for God and country.
He seems like a freedom fella.
Yeah. Yeah, man, there was some really weird ones, and then this was the strangest one.
Yeah, this is the one I wanted you to get to.
So maple in gematria, just the word maple. It's so there's like, again, I want to have a gematria person on to properly explain this, but from my understanding, there's like several different forms of gematria, and very rarely do they actually line up in meaning with like where one word will mean the same thing.
Yeah.
In all. So maple is one of those that kind of like translates through all of these iterations of gematria to the word Babylon.
That's nuts.
Yeah. And we've talked before about like the northeastern North America being sort of like the heart of sort of where modern culture sort of kicked off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it. So I found that to be
in
very
New
interesting.
Babylon.
Yeah.
Right? In North America.
Yeah.
Or the Western world.
Yeah. So it's super interesting.
Wow.
Some really neat syncs with that. Um, but yeah, I think maple syrup in general, like you were telling me, it has like it was apparently known to have some healing properties.
That was so it's because obviously it wasn't the first people in Quebec who did it. It was done by First Nation. Like First Nations people harvested maple syrup for thousands of years. They say at least 1,000, probably more. They don't know because everything they used would disintegrate or decay, right? So they have no idea how long they've been doing it. But they believed it was one of the, I think it was the Ojibwe called it winter's first medicine, or sorry, the season's first medicine. The fact that it was done on a sugar moon, right? All those things.
Yeah.
There's an element of that to it. It's supposed to be good for a remedy for cough. It's supposed to be like a lot of early settlers thought it was a remedy for sore throats.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a lot of that. Well, and yeah, the way it's harvested is like leading up to spring. It's like that 4 to 6 week period leading up to like the spring equinox or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, harvested on the sugar moon. So I mean, there's yeah, it's oh yeah, the one thing I wanted to bring up too is like just the way it's harvested now through
All the
the networks,
tubes and
the
yeah, so
tubes,
yeah,
right?
now they use vacuumed plastic tubes and reverse osmosis and they do it to suck everything out of the tree to kind of, because normally if they do it just with the temperature fluctuation, they have whenever the temperature is going freezing and not freezing, they can do it then. But by doing it this way, they can draw it out for longer, and it definitely looks like something.
Yeah, so it's connected, like it's very much gridded out. The maple farms, anyways, the large ones are very much gridded out, and then they're connected by this blue tubing, and it's specifically blue tubing because of the way sunlight reacts. It can't be clear or whatever because it has to maintain its whatever properties.
Yeah.
But the way it's connected looks very much like a series of veins, like between the trees, and it's like a form of like bloodletting is what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
And then it all, like you said, is pumped down to a central sugar shack now, which is they call it like the heart of the farm or whatever, right? Like it all goes to this one area. So it just made me, I'm trying to make these, connections, and with the time of year that it's harvested, it's sort of like leading up to spring when the earth wakes up again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and like has its life force. So it's almost like bloodletting the earth before before it like really wakes up. It's almost like depleting some of its potential energy before
I see. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Still a theory I'm working with, but
yeah, definitely now. I think the old way of doing it, it was done because it was done with a moon and with the not the spring sol. Well, I guess it is the spring solstice, right? Or spring equinox.
Yeah.
So yeah, they harvest on the spring equinox, and it was done with, like, they would honor the tree. Do you know what I mean? Like there was a ceremony to it. There was the understanding that you didn't tap the tree as many times as you could to get as much as you could out of it. It was, you took a little, you used a little, and you know what I mean? You left a lot so it could be done every year. And they believed that by doing that, that honored the tree, and that allowed for them to keep taking it. Whereas nowadays, like the bloodletting thing definitely, that's what it looks like. It looks like they're just trying to get every last drop out of that tree because it's all about money,
Yeah.
which is not what it was about before.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and just the fact that they suck it out now, like there's a suction element where before it was just like dripped into a pan, it's just gravity fed, right?
And it was more of an alchemical process before too, like a natural one, right? We talked earlier. It had all the elements like earth being the tree roots, air required to push the sap up and down
Yeah.
as the air cooled and whatever. Water, which was the actual sap that came out, and then fire was used to heat it up and
Boil
transform
it
it into something pure.
Yeah.
Like it was a very alchemical kind of way of doing it, and done in also in accordance with certain traditions at certain times a year gives it a kind of a magic effect, and that's how it was done. And now none of those things are done, right? Like,
yeah. Well, but like the one thing you did mention though that's it's still like the purest form of it is like they base it on color, right? And it's pure. It's like that pure gold color is still
the most valuable.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting. Obviously, with the significance of gold in occult teachings and just in culture in general. It's like it's always gold at the forefront.
Yeah. If I could read something from the just a little quote I have here. So it says, alchemy's core goal is transmuting base materials into noble ones through stages like negretto, which is blackening or dissolution, albedo, which is whitening purification, and rubedo, which is reddening or unification. Similarly, watery sap, which is a base fluid, is transformed via boiling into this golden syrup, a concentrated, purified essence. One source describes this as the alchemy of maple syrup making. You know what I mean? You tap a tree, take out a vital fluid, evaporate it, and refines it into something sweet and valuable.
Yeah.
And it kind of said it's akin to making elixirs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And even the history of maple syrup too is like there was that fight at one point against the cane sugar industry kind of thing too, right?
Yeah, in the 1800s they tried to there was a fight between them, and I think it was the whole like the Quakers who didn't believe in slavery and those opposed to slavery kind of wanted maple sugar because it was done as maple syrup, but also like as refined blocks.
Yeah,
that they would sell. They wanted that to replace cane sugar because slavery was used for that.
Huh. Okay.
There was also a push during the Civil War to like the North used maple syrup and maple sugar as their sugar additive because same thing, slavery in the South. And
yeah.
But so it didn't, it's just too expensive to make, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I just think it's interesting that it's held such significance through different time periods and with like significant people and groups of people that obviously saw different value in it. Beside, like, now it's just commercialized. Like I was looking at prices of like maple syrup in Japan. Like Canadian maple syrup candies in Japan are so expensive. It's nuts. Like, so it's because it's this like commodity now.
Yeah.
And it's lost this like cultural significance that it had, and it's lost this like sacred kind of element that it had before, where that gave it its value in the first place.
I think too, before it was almost a reward for making it through the winter, right? Like if you lived in those, if you were a settler on a seigneurie, that was your reward for getting through that tough winter, was you'd have great maple syrup because there was lots of snow, cold, you know what I mean? A longer winter, I think, is also something that helps at times too. Like a quick thaw means bad maple syrup. So
yeah.
Yeah,
man. There's so I mean, obviously, there's a 1,000 ways you could go with this, and I had no idea diving into the maple syrup heist that we were going to find all of this information.
Yeah, and we always look for little weird tie-ins, right? Like, are these people involved or those people involved? And in this one, there's little hints here and there, but it's for sure not definitely one group that's in or out. There's Jesuits all over it, though, for the first like couple hundred years.
Mm-hmm.
They were the first ones to write about it and to kind of bring it to Europe. Samuel de Champlain, who also brought all the Jesuits over. You know what I mean? It was the first governor of Quebec. He's the one who kind of pushed people to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think then it was done for a different idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And just Quebec in general is very, it's very much held its sort of European roots compared to the rest of Canada. Like the rest of Canada is very Americanized, but if you go to Quebec, it's actually it feels different.
It definitely does. It's when we were doing this. So Samuel de Champlain is the person who founded Quebec City. But when I read it, I was like founded or found, because we're not going down that whole one today, but Quebec's another one of those possibly found cities. Like the way it looked in 1600.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like it did today. Yeah.
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 With those old buildings anyway.
It's a wild place. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that industry and with, I like anything, I'm rooting for the kind of the legacy people with it, the old timers that have these farms. I hope that their kids take over and continue the tradition and can kind of remain in control of the industry, because like I said, I think there's a push to centralize it and make it just a Canadian commodity instead of something that like allows for independence and wealth to just normal people.
100%. And it would be nice. I also share your hope in what will happen, but I feel like it'll continue the way it's going, unfortunately, which is eventually it'll be Canada brand maple syrup, and it'll be in those crown places you mentioned. And yeah, everyone in the government will own a percentage of that company, and they'll,
yeah, we'll see, man. We will see. But I think we'll maybe wrap it up there with this one, because we've pretty much covered. I think I've covered all of my points with it. Is there anything else you want to throw in there? Or?
I don't think so. No.
All right. Well,
I think we've got it all.
Yeah. So this was a fun one. A little bit of a departure from the episodes we've had lately that have been, we've had some good guests and all that stuff. So we have a lot of guest episodes coming up. I will say that. So, if you're one of those people out there that listens to our show and is bored of just listening to our our schizo rantings, then don't worry. There's we're gonna have some guest schizos on here soon. They all just canceled. Anyways, so this has been good. I wanted to update a little bit. We're on YouTube now. We're on BitChute, got Rumble, Odyssey, all the video platforms. Spotify's doing just fine. Apple Podcasts doing just fine. I don't know where other people listen to audio, but it's on those things too.
Pretty much anywhere you get a podcast, or watch podcasts, you will find us.
Yeah, for sure. So give us a follow, give us a like. Find us on X. We're gonna try and be a little more active on there.
New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Already a week and a half in.
Yeah, which I read today. It was like Canada thinking about banning X.
Oh,
and I was
awesome.
like, oh, god damn it. But
of course.
Yeah, our 10 followers on there are gonna be real upset. It's been fun, and we will catch everyone next time. If you want to be a guest on the show, just reach out and we will line something up. Yeah.
Do that thing.
Yeah.
From the land of the high seas and the tall trees, I'm Mike.
I'm Andrew.
Have a great night.
Catch you next time.